Hello there, and welcome back to the dam. Today's video will be part 2 in the journey towards the fastest 386 that I can build. And if you haven't already seen part 1, I will recommend that you take a look at that video before watching this one. Link is in the description below. In my previous video, I picked 3 motherboards that I will be testing and comparing in this video. The premise of today's testing will be a stock configuration, and by that I mean no hardware modifications and no overclocking. I would like to try out these boards as the manufacturers intended them to be used and see how much we can squeeze out of them. Besides satisfying my own curiosity, it will also give us a baseline to compare to when we eventually move on to modification and overclocking. But before we can begin testing these boards, we first have to pick some additional hardware. First, the stars of the show, the CPUs. And for that I have picked 5 CPUs and 2 math co-processors from my collection. The first CPU is the AMD AM386DX40. I believe it is the highest clocked 386 from AMD and also the only true 386 I will include in my testing. It comes with a rated frequency of 40 MHz and no level 2 cache. Next we have the Cyrix CX486 DLC-40GP. Unlike the 386 from AMD, this CPU has a 486 instruction set, and it also includes 1 KB of level 1 cache running in write-through mode. The third CPU is the Cyrix CX486 DRX2-66. This CPU is rated for a frontside bus of 33 MHz, so slightly lower than the DLC's 40 MHz. To try and make up for the lower frontside bus, it features an internal clock doubling, bringing the clock speed up to an impressive 66 MHz. Sadly, it only comes with 1 KB of level 1 cache in write-through mode, just like the older DLC CPU, and that might hamper its performance, but we will see about that. Fourth CPU is the Texas Instruments 486 SXL-40. Again, a CPU with a 486 instruction set, rated at 40 MHz, just like the Cyrix DLC. But unlike the DLC, this CPU has 8 KB of level 1 cache. And I actually expect to see a significant jump in performance when going from 1 KB to 8 KB of level 1 cache. So much in fact that this CPU rated at 40 MHz actually might be faster than the Cyrix clocked at 66 MHz, but we will test that. Fifth and last CPU is this bad boy, the Joindata PK-A486BL75. Not an upgrade CPU, but a CPU upgrade card, as Joindata calls it, featuring the IBM 486 Blue Lightning 3, rated for a frontside bus of 25 MHz and internally clock tripled to 75 MHz. It also features a Cyrix CX87 DLC math co-processor rated at 25 MHz. This is a CPU upgrade that was made for the proprietary Japanese NEC PC98 architecture. The PC98 is a non-IBM compatible x86 based computer, mainly targeted the Japanese market. But despite being designed and produced for the PC98, it can actually work in a standard IBM compatible 386 motherboard. And with its massive 16 kilobytes of internal level 1 cache, apparently capable of running in either write through or write back mode, I think this could be the fastest CPU I have for the 386 CPU socket. And now you might ask, why these 5 CPUs? Why not the TI 486 SXL2 or the Chppsing Technologies Super 386? And to that I can say, I can only test CPUs that I actually have. And I believe that the fastest 386 CPU I own is to be found among these 5 CPUs. So that's why. I also have these 2 math co-processors. They will not be needed for the initial testing, but we might use them later if we want to try out something like Quake. To accompany our CPU and motherboard, I have these 8 sticks of 1 MB RAM, rated for a speed of 70 nanoseconds. I also have 256 kilobytes of level 2 cache, rated at 15 nanoseconds. For I/O, I have this 16-bit ISA multi-I/O card. It uses the Gold Star Prime 2 chip, and I have plugged in a CF to IDE adapter with a CF card containing MS-DOS 6.22, as well as all the software we will need for the testing. The last thing we need is a VGA card, and for that I have picked this one. It is the Ion X-Late 6693B, and I believe this is the fastest ISA VGA card that I have. It has the Zenlabs ET4000AX chip and comes with 1 MB of VRAM. Before we move on to the actual testing, let's have a look at the results from Atheatos' testing. As you can see, he has done a very extensive testing of his 386 setup. If we look closer, we can see that his test results for the 3D Bench 1.0C reflects almost one-to-one all the other test results. So I think I will start off by testing my different hardware configurations in 3D Bench only. And if we are lucky enough to get anything close to his top score of 33.6 frames, we can move on to the other tests as well. To keep track of my testing results, I have created this little spreadsheet. As you can see, it is not as extensive as Atheatos' spreadsheet, but for the purpose of this video, I think it is good enough. And with that said, let's move on to the more exciting part of this video. Yep, that is exactly how the testing of these CPUs on motherboards went. It went like not terrible, not great. But let's have a look at the results in my spreadsheet. Keep in mind that these tests has been done with no modifications to the BIOS or the hardware. The only thing I have done is setting the wait states to 0 and also enabled the CPU's level 1 cache with a cache tool in DOS. The first board I tested was the one from Joindata systems, and as you can see, I managed a maximum of 25 FPS by using the CPU from I/O data running at 75 MHz. A thing to note here is that the Cyrix DRX2 clocked at 66 MHz did worse than both the DLC and the TI CPUs that were clocked at only 40 MHz. And here are the results from the M320. And yes, that motherboard was going nowhere. I could not make it boot with a single one of the CPUs. It did show signs of life, but it refused to boot, and I just got a lot of beeping. It clearly needs its own repair video, but that will have to wait. For now, let's just take that board off the list for this project. Finally, we have the results for the Soyo board, and that is a bit of a mixed bag. The first 3 CPUs did okay, I would say, right around the same performance as the first motherboard, although the DRX2 takes the lead here. For the SXL, I did not manage to get it to boot. I am not sure if this motherboard is defective, but at least it needs some tweaking. Maybe a new BIOS would solve the issue I have with the SXL CPU, but I'm not sure. Finally, the result for the I/O data CPU, and that is a not compatible. This motherboard does not have a crystal oscillator that I can just swap out like the 2 other boards. It only offers a jumper for setting the frontside bus to either 33 or 40 MHz. So to run this board at a frontside bus of 25 MHz, I will have to modify it, and that lies beyond the scope of this video. So all in all, this video did not go as planned. And I have come to realize that 3 motherboards combined with 5 CPUs is just too much for me to juggle around in one video. So I have decided to also take the Soyo board off the list, at least for now. I still think it's an interesting board that potentially could become a 386 top performer. I will for sure come back to it in a later video, but for now it's out. That only leaves us with the board from Joindata Systems, and I am not totally dissatisfied with that. Moving on with this project will be easier with only a single board to focus on, and move on we will. I know that there is much more performance to gain from the hardware we are left with now, but to unleash that performance, we will have to do some hardware modifications. And that will be the topic of the next video in this series, where I will try to do the modifications needed to take this board to 11 and beyond. But to do so, I need some new parts and components, and I think it could be at least 2 or 3 weeks before they arrive here at the dam. So don't expect to see part 3 in this video series anytime soon. But I have other projects that we can take a look at while we wait, so that's really not a problem. In any case, that is all I have for you today. If you like this video, I hope you will find the time to click the like button. It really helps me stay motivated to make more videos. And if you have any feedback or suggestions for improvements to my videos, please leave them in the comment section below. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, so you don't miss part 3 in this series whenever it arrives. So stay tuned, and I will see you in the next video.